Hi, and welcome back to Bourbon Blind, where the guys drink what y'all pick. So go ahead and feel free to leave a comment in the comment section, and we'll try and get a bottle that you want to see on the show as quick as possible. Also, if you like the content of the show you're seeing tonight, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you absolutely love us, go ahead and stop by our Patreon page. Even we have cool gifts down to like $1 a month. So with that being said, tonight's pick comes from Alex K. And we appreciate your pick. I'm kind of curious to see what the guys think of this bottle because we've seen some other lovely bottles by these people. I'm not going to say what it is because after all, they are right there. If you hear them in the background, they're talking so that they don't hear what I'm saying to y'all. Also, as always, the guys are going to tell you what they think of said bottle without knowing exactly what bottle it is. So they're going to tell you what they think of it, how much it's good. Blech. They're going to tell you what they think of the bottle and tell you how much they're willing to pay without the hype of the pretty little label that you're seeing. We'll see what they think of this bottle.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Bourbon Blind. I'm Kyle.
I'm Brett.
We taste whiskey. We don't know what it is. We give you a price based on what we're willing to pay for a bottle without the hype behind it because we taste everything blind. So, that being said, let's get into this whiskey.
Okay, I have to ask you, do you think tasting blind is a good idea?
Sometimes it's disappointing.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's not always a win. Is it better to taste blind?
So we actually have a spreadsheet on our Patreon page of everything the price we've given it and the retail price.
Okay. Smart.
And it's actually a good ratio. So
What ratio are you talking about? Like, what do you mean it's a good ratio? What's good, I guess?
like if we gave a price, we'd be willing to pay $80 for a bottle.
Okay.
And it retails for $40. It has a ratio of 2.0 on that spreadsheet.
Okay. All right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So everything averaged out, that ratio, as of right now, is just over 1.0.
Oh, okay. So typically you would expect to pay more than what the bottle's worth, or rather what the bottle retails for. So that's a good ratio.
Yeah.
Okay.
But at the same time, like there's been some whiskeys that are $60, $70, $80 retail that we're like, I'd pay like $20 for this.
And if you've watched the show, like I have, both Jay and Jason have commented on you maybe really overvaluing or just overspending on your claims here.
Well, Jason's a little cheap. So
You've made that statement a few times too. Like, yeah, I know you go $10 below me every time, but that's because you're kind of a cheapo.
And Jason is usually about $10 cheaper than I am. Where on the other hand, Jay is sometimes a little more expensive than I am. Mm-hmm. So, I mean,
well, Jay has obviously finer taste. Have you seen his mustache? That dude knows the finer things.
The handlebars?
Oh
I mean,
my gosh.
That's sexy.
Goodness gracious. Keep me away. I'm married, alright? Uh-ohs.
To a woman.
What's the Seinfeld episode? Not that that's a big deal.
Right. Just saying. Just throwing it out there.
Okay, the first thing that I get on this is it's a finished whiskey.
You think so?
I don't know. I get that
the nose on it,
that sweetness, that like cloying sweetness.
I mean, it's a really light, like a straw color, like a hay straw kind of.
Yeah, the first time I saw it, I was like, that's a Scotch. I was aged in a used barrel. Maybe not. It's perhaps. Yeah. Actually, I'm not getting that finished note to it right now. Okay, the reason I bring up the blind tasting is because I have a bone to pick with you about that.
Uh-oh.
Yeah?
Let's hear it then.
Well,
Send it.
We'll get into it. The question I have right now is whether or not you think tasting things blind has affected your ability to discern what you like.
I think it's actually helped with what I like.
Okay. And what changes has it made? Like, have you seen any benefits from tasting things blind?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like take Wild Turkey 101, for example.
Hell yes.
Like,
love Wild Turkey 101.
Right, like you sit down with it, you're like, this is good. right? Mm-hmm. But if you don't mentally give it the credit that it's due by having that subconscious in the back of your head of, well, it is Wild Turkey 101. Mm-hmm. I used to drink this in high school or college or whatever. And, you know what I mean? We used to, like, it was a punishment. Like, oh, it was a punishment. Like, you know what I mean? Like, once you get past that, you're like, wow, like, there is a lot of flavors and depth and,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
I love WT 101. So, fantastic stuff. Oh my gosh. Okay. Getting that standard bourbon notes.
A little bit of fruit in there.
Yeah.
Getting some fruit.
Honey, clove. Mm-hmm. Sweetness. I'm definitely getting cloying sweetness, and usually that indicates to me that it's a finished bourbon, but I'm not getting a particular wine or like any of
some of those. I'm getting some of those like lighter fruits, like peach and.
Oh, heck yeah!
Right.
Stone fruits. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Is that some like maple syrup?
I like
on
the
the
nose.
very, very back end.
It's got
like
a density to this nose where everything is it's layered well.
Mm-hmm. It is.
It's not a one-trick pony. This thing has a lot going on, and
I mean, you get all your vanilla, caramel, butterscotch, and then like I get like some maple syrup back on the way down in there.
Maple syrup. Not finding the honey, but not maple syrup yet.
It's in there, like way down. It's hiding.
It's
hiding,
waiting to smack you like a ninja.
All right, I'm getting into this, guys. Cheers. Wow.
I don't know what that is.
There's a lot going on.
I didn't chew it.
Like there's
too much going on. It just blew by me. That was an absolute tidal wave. That thing was too much for me.
I was not expecting for how light it is. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't expecting all those flavors to just kind of like roll over the tongue, and
I enjoyed this.
I do too.
In the back end, I'm getting a little popcorn, a little saltiness. I really like when a bourbon has some saltiness to it. Something beyond just the typical caramel. And like, you get those briny, smoky notes on some very complex whiskey, but when they get salty, that complements the sweetness very well, and it makes it much more interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
It doesn't have any of those leathery or really well aged.
No, I don't think it's super
over oaky notes. I'm not getting a lot of oak.
Nope.
I'm not getting a lot of barrel notes. I'm just getting a lot of the bright, effervescent, delicious, sweet tongue qualities.
There's a little bit of fruity in there. Like you said, all those sweetness kind of. It's almost like a candy. I don't want to say like a candy, but like a dessert.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of those sweet, savory kind of notes in there. That
probably not going on.
Like you said, it's toffee and.
The one thing that's drawn me away from liking this a lot is the cloying sweetness. The hardest note that's hitting me, while it has a good balance of that salty, toffee, caramel, and a small amount of savory note, it just shoots up in sweetness and sugariness. And I don't want to drop marzipan here, but I'm thinking marzipan.
You just said the marzipan.
I don't want to mimic you here.
Just said the marzipan.
Yeah, that happens every once in a while. If you watched Fred Minnick's live stream just last night, he dropped marzipan on. I'm assuming I think it was Henry McKenna that he mentioned it about, because I believe it was a Heaven Hill product that he mentioned it in the first place. And
I do like it. I'm guessing somewhere in like the 100, 110-ish range.
Oh, really? Okay.
Like it drinks below. I think it's drinking below its proof point, if that makes sense.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like I think it's higher than what it's showing.
So where do you think it's drinking right now? Where do you feel this sits on your palate, alcohol-wise?
I think the 95, 100-ish range.
Yeah, I want to say it's that 94, and I feel like the ethanol spike is because it's a younger whiskey that's finished. That's a
I'm
smart
going to add
choice.
a little bit, see what it does.
So what does water usually do to whiskey to you?
Usually
What
for
do you
me,
expect?
it does exactly what I would think is it waters it down. But every now and then you get that whiskey, like last week. It's sometimes it just brings out so much more in the whiskey. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like stuff like 1792 for me, water just kills it. Like it just dilutes everything and does weird stuff, and I don't like it. Where someone like the barrel strength single rose or Four Roses single barrels, like a little bit of water really opens it up, and you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. For like I said, it just depends. But usually, I'm not a huge fan of it. But I'm getting more like a floral.
I need
floral essence with the water.
Okay. I need to spend more time experimenting with the amount of water I put in whiskey.
I usually
don't do
for about this much, I usually add about 3 or 4, maybe 5 drops. So enough to put a little bit in there, but not so much to.
I also at home, like, if I'm being totally honest, I'm pouring water and like I'm doing it straight from a Brita filter, and like sometimes I succeed in getting a few drops in there, and sometimes I just drown my whiskey. And I'm like, oh well, okay, I don't know what to do now. I guess I'll just sit on the couch and watch ESPN until I go to bed. I don't really care anymore. Yeah, it kind of killed this whiskey for me. I think it didn't. It didn't bring any new flavors, just watered it
I'm getting
down.
a little more of that saltiness though.
Really? Mm-hmm. Awesome.
On the nose. Let's go in.
All right, so you're saying 100.
I think it's 100 proof.
I'm saying 94 proof.
Somewhere in that. The way the water really brought it down makes me think it's a little lower proof.
I'm saying $60. Oh wait, we're saying what we want to pay, not what we would expect to pay.
Right. How much would you be willing to pay?
Ugh, how much are we willing to pay? That's such a different conversation, because I probably would not.
Try it with the. Go back to the original.
back.
Because I do think it's way better on the palate without the water. For sure. I would not add water to this.
You're absolutely right. $55.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Ooh, just crushing it. Did you go back to the original too?
Not yet. About to.
So the blind aspect for me definitely changes things up. I remember the first time I tried to blind some things. I had, I don't know, E.H. Taylor small batch, Maker's Mark, and then 2 other whiskeys that were nice. And Maker's Mark, for my palate at that point in time, just blew them out of the water.
Really?
I tried again 2 years later. I tried to replicate virtually the same thing, and it changed dramatically. And I realized that as my palate changed, I wasn't able to track my palate changing via the bottles that I was drinking. So me telling myself, "Oh yeah, my palate loves Maker's Mark," didn't benefit me.
Right.
Because every couple months it kind of evolved, and supposedly, or in theory, everything you eat affects your palate. So really, basically what I'm trying to say here is that every night try every single whiskey in your cabinet until you find the one that suits you that night. So go ahead, drink 130 whiskeys in a night, and then you'll find that one special one that you're going to take home and watch ESPN with.
I would definitely say at least every 3 to 4 months. If you don't like something, try it again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And
the bottle will have changed, the whiskey will have changed, your palate will have changed.
If you do like something, try it against something else every 3 to 4 months, because trying stuff back to back, even knowing what it is, when you get that back to back next to each other, tasting like that could really.
As Sun Tzu said, you cannot dip your foot into the same river twice.
That's deep.
Yeah, foot changes, the water changes, and the river changes. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm kind of itching to find out what this is.
I might be in that 55.
You're coming down from that
65.
100? Yeah, I thought you might come down from that. It seemed like...
Well, no, I was saying like 100 proof.
Oh, 100 proof. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't know about $100, but maybe in that $55 to $65 price range. I wouldn't want to pay more than 65. 55, I'd feel more comfortable.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
You know what I mean? So, should we see what it is?
Yes. I'm really excited to see what this one is.
Dun, 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 dun.
Oh my god! So, in case you were wondering, we're professional bourbon tasters here. And we can
Professionals, and we claim it
we
too.
really know what we're doing.
And it's 80 proof.
Cloying sweetness, finished bourbon. That's what that is right there. 100 proof. We know bourbon. You're tuning into the right channel here.
So it was actually drinking above its weight class, which
I love
makes
Yellow
sense.
Label. I have always thought that Yellow Label is one of the best bottom shelf bourbon. If I walk into a bar and their well bourbon is Four Roses Yellow Label,
I'm happy.
Love that bar.
I'm happy.
I'm so pumped about being
Like
that bar.
whatever drink you're making, just use that. It's fine.
So, full clarity, I started my bourbon journey with this guy right here. I was really into scotch for a few years, and prior to that, beer. And then I went to a charity event, and I bid on a package that had a Yellow Label, a small batch, and a single barrel in it, and then a couple glasses, and then the Four Roses book, and it was this pretty like Easter basket thing. And once I got it, I was like, oh, well, this is bourbon. Okay, well, here we go.
Let's do it.
The 100 proof was, at that point in time, not that tasty to me. That single barrel, not really my thing.
A little too high proof for that time.
I
in your,
guess so,
your
because I was a
bourbon journey.
Scotch guy. I mean, my big thing was like Glenmorangie back then. And I walked into a liquor store and was like, hey, this guy right here, I know my bourbon. I really like that Four Roses Yellow Label. What you got that's similar? And that kicked me down. That was 5 years ago now, 6 years ago now. And this stuff, it has stayed the same.
I will be honest though, I did not think I liked the Yellow Label that much. I really didn't. I mean, it really had a lot going on in there. I mean, it is all 10 recipes mixed in there, so
It's roses. It's delicious stuff.
it's got that going for it.
Can't go wrong with Four Roses.
But like when you put this up next to the small batch and then the small batch next to the single barrel, when you come back to this, you're like, eh? You know what I mean? Like when you have this next to the single barrel, but at the same time, like that was freaking delicious. I have
to have this.
no problems with that.
I have so many
This is
bottles
one of
of
the
this.
older bottles. The newer ones have a cork on it.
Is it
instead of a
19
screw top.
bucks?
Yeah, it's like 18, 20 bucks, something like that. Yeah. Win.
Perfect.
That's a win for us.
Absolutely. Buy this bottle. Get your Yellow Label on. Drink
And
this.
for 20 bucks for making cocktails and stuff? Dude,
I don't know if it would stand up in a cocktail.
I really like
It does?
the small batch, personally, especially for mint juleps. Four Roses small batch and a mint julep. Mm-hmm. Boom.
I would like to compare
Boom.
this side by side with like an Evan Williams 1783,
I'm interrupting.
Buffalo Trace.
So if you haven't had a Four Roses
Peach
Rose,
Oh, the 130th cocktail?
it was the
Yeah.
130th cocktail. This is what they used. This is what stood up to it.
Mm-hmm.
This is amazing in it. So I'm going to interrupt him because I'm over here working and doing my own thing. But Yeah, when the minute they said, I don't know if it can stand up to a cocktail, it will, and it's amazing. So if you can go ahead and Google, like, the Four Roses Peach Rose, I am a firm believer, except instead of putting the basil on as a finish at the distillery, they went and poured it into our drinks and muddled it, and it was absolutely fabulous. So, yeah, with that being said, they can keep talking.
We
Boom
should have had
sauce.
our research done and known who the bartender was who did that, because that guy crushed the game.
Right. Yeah. They did a big thing on their Facebook page and everything about, hey, if you're a bartender or even a home bartender or whatever, submit your recipes. And I want to be the guy that tested all those recipes.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine having
Right?
that job?
Like-
Actually, I'm not that into cocktails, so I feel like that would be kind of a chore. But if you're into cocktails, that'd be amazing.
Right. Like, I'm not into wine, but if Costco offered me the position of
Being your wine buyer.
the wine buyer that
Yeah.
they send over to Europe and everything
To
in
find which
California.
one they're going to brand as their Costco line.
Right, and even like
Yeah.
what wines they're going to stock and stuff, like, I'll take that job.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
I'll study up on wine, that's cool. Like,
So, when are we starting a distillery is the real question.
right.
'Cause
So-
I feel like we can make it happen.
Four Roses Yellow Label, 80 proof, $20 on the shelf. Should be on the shelf in virtually,
Every store you go into.
yeah, any store that's worth it, anything.
This is a recent
gonna
one. This
have
is signed by Brent Elliott.
It is after Brent Elliott, but it's before the bottle change.
Yep.
Actually, it is no longer the Yellow Label.
Right.
It's not yellow anymore. They don't
Look at
want
it.
it
It's
to be
brown.
Well, the newer one is like
Even
like
browner?
a whitish.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cool, I guess. I don't know.
Well, they're going for more of that like upscale, classy kind of look with the
Because
cork instead of the
when
screw
I think
top.
Four
and-
Roses, I think classy.
And I love the Four Roses. You guys know that. Brett loves the Four Roses.
Absolutely. It is 100% the backbone of my whiskey education. At least my bourbon education. It's what taught me what good bourbon was.
Right.
And I've based all of my bourbon palate on it since then.
Everything I've done to become a Jedi has been centered around Four Roses.
Essentially, that's a fair description.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm now a bourbon Jedi, and I base it on Four Roses.
The only thing that disappoints me now is that I don't have more of this in my whiskey bar.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. I can't tell you how many times. Like it's really hard for me.
To return to the basics.
Well, not even that, but like doing these videos and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're like, man, I'd pay $50 for this, but I could get Four Roses single barrel for $40, and I would pick that over whatever this other whiskey is all day long.
And
So it's
then
really
that-
hard to like separate basing it against other whiskeys that you know you can buy versus just. And like I've told you guys before, I really try and do these on a one-by-one basis, what I would pay for this bottle, not this bottle up against other stuff. Because,
That's unfair.
yeah.
But
But
this bottle right now is perfect.
yeah.
It's
For
what I
20
wanna drink.
$20 all day long.
And the most surprising part about this is that we've been drinking some barrel-proof stuff
We have.
for a while.
We,
It's really shocking when
earlier
you have a
tonight-
barrel-proof and then you follow it up with something that is far below it in terms of proof, and it still holds up flavor-wise. That's an
and it
incredible
did.
statement.
It did too. This is Brett's first time over here, so we were tasting a few things out of the bar, and he brought over some stuff. And
Oh, was I not supposed to mention that we had been drinking some strong stuff, some strong brown water beforehand?
That's fine.
My boo. First time on camera. I'm going to make some mistakes. Just wait till I take my clothes off. I'm going to make a lot of mistakes.
But no, I mean, usually we'll do at least, one or two bourbons beforehand, just so you don't have that. Because I don't care.
You have to warm
I've been
up.
drinking I've been drinking bourbon straight for years, but on just about any given night, that first sip you take, you're like, oh man, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You get that
Well,
that shock.
The more more obtrusive thing for me is that like I'll have a bourbon when I guess like I don't know, it just doesn't I don't get all the flavor. I don't get what I need to get out of it.
Right.
It takes me a drink or two to be able to pick out the nuances of the bourbon. So it feels almost like the warm up bourbons I don't know, maybe I'm wasting my time with them. I wish there was a way for my palate to be ready for bourbon right away.
Right. And I don't know if there is a way to do that, but usually, like, if I know, someone's coming over and we're going to have a few drinks or whatever, like, when I pull out the really good bottles, right? Like, usually it's in that, like, third, fourth pour kind of range where...
At the same time, do you play any instruments?
I used to play guitar.
Okay. Well, when you played guitar, you didn't, like, start with, like, just jumping into Mozart. You didn't, like, go snot and G. You would, like, play some scales first. You'd play some etudes.
You got to get that
Absolutely. You need to get your fingers loose. I feel like it's the exact same thing with your tongue. You need to get it ready. Like, hey, let's do some stretches. Let's get ready because the big dogs are coming in and we're gonna taste some.
You got to have that. You got to have that control. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? I take back what I said before. Absolutely warm up your palate. This is important stuff, and warm it up with whatever. I guess shock therapy might be good for your tongue. Drink some 80 proofers.
Man, that's good.
Hell yeah.
Like I said, I honestly didn't think I liked it that much. I knew I liked it, but I didn't think I liked it that much. Does that make sense?
It does.
Like, it's always been something I'm like, man, that's really good. But
you know what we need to do?
What I really go through is like the small batch and the single barrel is what I really...
We need to do a solid month-long cleanse where all you do is you go back to all of the starter
basics.
Bourbons. Absolutely. And you're like, no, I'm not gonna allow myself to drink that GTS tonight.
Right.
You know what I'm gonna do? Not drink that. I'm gonna drink
the Heaven Hill bottled in bond.
Or
the Evan Williams
Ancient Age. I'm gonna drink whatever BT's lowest and entry level stuff is.
So. Anyway, thanks for coming out, Brett. Appreciate
thanks for having me.
Until next week, guys. Drink blind.
Blindly drink.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bien frit.